So I have 6 questions for you when we get started, and we'll just start off with an introduction, who you are, where you're at, a little bit about your business model, what you photograph, how long you've been around, like that kind of stuff.
I am Kendra. I am co-owner of Lightshed Photography Studio in Salem, Massachusetts.
Hmm.
I specialize in maternity, newborn, and family photography. My husband runs the other side of the business, and he specializes in real estate and headshot photography. We
Okay.
have a real estate photographer, and we have another headshot photographer as well as an office manager.
Awesome.
I've been in business for 13 years. This location for 12 years, and then we had a previous location for another year. And we're just about ready to move to our third location.
That's awesome. I'm really excited for your new spot. I mean, it's going to be amazing when it's done, but it's going to be a lot of work to get there.
Yes, it is a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's fun, and I'm excited for the design process and the new displays and all that stuff. It's going to be a fun project. So, in your business, Kendra, I've had the honor of being able to work with you for some years now, and you definitely run your business like a business. It's business first. So, in those years that you've had your studio, what has been your most successful plan or event or idea that you have used during that time? Is there something that sticks out that's like, oh, yep, this is the one that really worked out, or this is the system we do that works out every day and continues to deliver every day? Is there something that stands out to you?
You got me stumped. Hold on.
Thinking.
Well, a number of years ago, I'm trying to think how many years we've been doing it. It's probably been 5 or 6 years now that we started doing Santa sessions. And they started out just as mini sessions, but I've really started to grow them. And the past 2 weekends, I did full sessions, so full price sessions that included Santa. And we got a good number of people that jumped on board with those. But then the next 3 weekends, we're still doing the in studio shorter sessions, but I've really raised the pricing for those to create more of an experience for people. And I think it's working out pretty well. A lot of the clients that have older kids are really enjoying the 45-minute sessions where their kids get to actually spend one-on-one time talking with Santa. And I take video clips and put that into a slideshow. So at the end, depending on what they order, they have the whole thing, all the images and the video clips and all those special moments of their kids with Santa.
That's awesome. And you're doing this months in advance.
Yeah, everything was planned in February and March for this, just so that I wouldn't have to do anything last minute.
Wow. So as of right now, then, Kendra, are you already making those plans for next year then?
I haven't started. That'll be January. I'll start to figure out what I'm going to do for next year. But
Okay.
I do figure out little things along the way. Like the sessions I just did this past weekend. It was half fall, half Christmas with Santa. And I scheduled an hour and a half, and I realized that the kids don't need an hour and a half when I have so many things to keep them busy going from this activity to this activity. I can move them along pretty quickly. And then another thing that I think we're going to try for next year is I have a second shooter, and she knows exactly how I like to do things. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I set everything up and hand her the camera and let her shoot, and I'll interact with the kids. But what we're going to do next year is those sessions that were an hour and a half, they're going to be an hour, and they're going to spend a half hour with me doing either the fall or the Christmas, and then they'll go to Michelle and do the other half. That way I can keep people coming through as quickly as possible and spend as little as time on location as I can.
Hmm. That's awesome. Now with the new space, because you'll be in that, this time next year, is that going to modify how you approach those? Are you going to be able to do more because of the larger space?
I'm considering doing that in the same way as well, where I do a portion of it and then they move over to our second shooter and do a portion of it so that I can keep moving people in and out as quickly as possible. but still be able to give them that, either 20-minute or 45-minute experience, just split up between me and Michelle.
Right. So how many staff do you have, Kendra? I know it's you and your husband, and then you have your second shooter. Do you have other support staff?
So there are 5 of us all together.
Okay.
So I run this half of the business, the family side of it, and I like to do most of the shooting, but we want to keep growing. So I'm starting to try and let things go, not control as much myself and hand it off. That way we can keep growing, because last year I reached the max that I can take on myself. I was working 10, 12-hour days in November just to try and keep up with everything from October and November. So bringing her on board will hopefully allow me to relax a little bit and not work those long hours.
Yeah, I mean, when you start to get to that point where you're maxing your hours out, you don't want to put that cap on, but you're physically only capable of doing so much.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So hopefully that allows me to breathe a little bit this year, and then even more next year.
On our talks that we've had, you're always taking notes, you're creating action, you're doing the things that it's going to take to, to cause your business to succeed and to grow. How do you self-motivate, Kendra? And how do you also bring your staff along with you? Like, we're all idea people. It's easy to have ideas. We should do this, we should do this, we should do this, this would be great. But then taking that and actually creating a plan and implementation, especially with a staff, can be very difficult. Like, how do you do that? What's your magic wand for actionable items?
So this year we started having monthly meetings. In the mornings, we'll all sit down for about an hour once a month, talk about goals. And each quarter we set goals for ourselves. Each of us have to set 3 goals, 3 measurable goals that we can say, yes, this checked off. We definitely did this. And we've all done a pretty good job of getting through those goals. And those are just either personal goals that we need to, like, what did I have on there? Oh, I needed to make phone scripts was on my previous one. So I got those done, but then I also needed to teach Hannah and Michelle how to work through those phone scripts so that I'm not taking the phone calls and all that sort of thing. So when we meet, we're like, okay, did we do this? And we're all sitting there, so we all hold each other accountable for making sure that we all do those things.
Right.
And it seems to work out pretty well, because we get input from each other, like, oh, well, this is your problem, maybe you could try this. So it seems to really help to be able to give them input on different things throughout the business. They seem to really enjoy, putting in their 2 cents for everything along the way.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm glad you said the word accountability, because it sounds like that's definitely what you're doing, and they're doing to each other and to you, which is not a bad thing. So let me ask you this. This is a side question, but it ties in. How do you remain the CEO or the person in charge, and being able to kind of get above figuratively and see things from a macro level? How do you kind of remove yourself from day to day and still be involved, but be able to look at it and say, okay, this is really what needs to happen. Now I got to slide back into Kendra photographer mode, go do this, teach this, but now I got to come up and see this again and understand how all these pawns are moving, or these pieces are moving. How do you maintain those, like, I suppose, multiple personalities, if you will?
Probably not very well, if you talk to my husband. Well, I will say it's really good having him as a business partner, my husband, because he is very good at that sort of thing. I am still working on it. He is better at telling me, okay, this is what's going on. And then getting me to come down to his level and talk to him through it, and us talk through it and figure out what we need to do and then implement it. So outside of just having the meetings with the 5 of us, me and him talk and figure out, okay, this is what needs to go on. This is what we need to talk about. These are the issues that we're having. Let's address them and then go on from there. So I would say he is the one that keeps the trains running pretty well and keeping me in order.
Well, it sounds like you guys make a heck of a team. That's awesome, to be able to have that sounding board and be able to sit down and figure things out together. That's a very valuable thing, and for people watching along, there's probably a fairly large percentage of them that are working with their spouse. And sometimes that's great. Sometimes it might not be so great, but it sounds like you guys have really worked through that, so that's awesome.
It's definitely gotten easier, especially as we went our separate ways with what we wanted to focus on. We're not on shoots together. So even though we're working together, I don't see him that much throughout the day, which is helpful because when me and him are shooting together, we're always like, no, that's not how I would do it, or no, let's try it. So it's best that we go our separate ways when it comes to that portion and then meet back up to talk about the actual business part of it.
Right. That's really good that you guys recognize that, so you're not throwing cameras at each other's heads, or anything. So most photographers, and I'm gonna blanket this statement, have a specific reason or a very strong why of how they became a photographer. Do you have a strong why, Kendra? Is there something that has occurred in your life you're like, yep, this is my path, this is where I'm going to go?
Honestly, it was between being a grade school art teacher and being a photographer, because that was where I found my happiness in school, was in art classes. I would do everything I could to take as many art classes as possible. So through art, that's when I discovered those two options that I really wanted to do. So then I interned my senior year for both a photographer in town and a grade school art teacher. And the sole reason I chose photography is because I didn't want to do 4 years of school.
That's awesome. I didn't know that you were considering a career in teaching art. That's pretty cool.
But in the end, I know that I made the correct decision because I love what I do. I love it so much that I have a hard time putting the camera down and letting pick it up and do it instead of me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And our last interview that we did here about a half hour ago, we were talking about the same exact thing. And when you love to do something, it's easy to do it. It's not like work. It's hard to put down, like you said. So that's incredible. So in
daughter, I didn't care if I worked 10 or 12-hour days because I enjoy doing it. But now that we have her, just step back and be like, it's okay to let go for a little while.
Yeah, for sure. So if you were going to give one piece of advice to the people that are watching this today, Kendra, after your 10 years in business, growing into a new location, probably reinventing yourself, a few times along the way, different styles, different options, all the things, what would that piece of advice be?
Keep reaching out to your clients. Keep a good relationship with them. That way they don't forget about you. We send holiday cards out. We send birthday cards for kids. I will try and, message happy birthday on Facebook for them, that sort of thing. Just keep that relationship strong with them. Send them holiday gifts, send them stuff that, sets you apart from somebody else. You don't have to spend a ton of money, but just say, hey, I'm still here when you need me. And then even go a step above that, create a program for those special clients of yours that you really enjoy working with, that gives them a little something every couple of years.
That's great advice. So that in itself is almost like a full-time job to keep up with. So how do you do that? Because as a male, I am terrible at that stuff.
So I figured out what I wanted to do, like the birthday cards for the kids. I got a system in place for that. The office manager takes care of sending those out. We just have automatic reminders that pop up, 30 days before the birthdays, and she sits down and she sends the cards out. And then all year long, she's working on keeping the holiday card list updated and adding people to it and taking people off of it and keeping that in order. And then once I get through busy season, I figure out those people I call it the legacy program. And the people that have been with me for years and spend the way that I want them to and that I enjoy working with, they go on it. And she keeps that, okay, we need to add these people on it, and these are who's on it. Are you ready to send out their invites for the year for the session that you're going to give them and the gift that you're going to give them? Without her, I would probably be way far behind.
It sounds like she's got a very good plan in place. That's awesome. And definitely, especially with the age of social media and, things not being sometimes super real anymore, it's really important to be front of mind and to be genuine and to keep that contact, like you said. That's very, very, very valuable. And a handwritten card is a great commodity, to do, and a carry note inside it. It goes a long ways with people, definitely. So, well, I really appreciate you hanging out with us here for a few minutes today, Kendra, and taking time out of your day.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for hanging with us. So, before we go, can I ask you one more question because we have a few minutes? So, out of the last 10 years, is there any glaring mistake that you're like, ooh, wish I wouldn't have done that one?
As my husband just walked in the door and is staring at me. Let's see. You know what? I wish that I never would have gotten rid of my session fee, because I had a session fee in the beginning. We always charged it. Then I got rid of it. And then with your encouragement, I brought it back. And I never should have gotten rid of it. I should have always kept it in place and then just slowly started turning it up. I think I kind of shot myself in the foot there a little bit by letting it go for a few years. But thankfully, with your encouragement, bringing it back hasn't been too much of an issue.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I can remember having that conversation with you, and especially the amount of work that you were putting into all these family sessions, planning their clothing, doing all the things. Like, you have to get paid for your time, and definitely. And I'm sure that the vast majority of people never even blinked an eye. It's like of course there's a session charge. I'm taking your time. I'm in your space. Like, the lease costs money, the camera costs money, your time is valuable. So I'm glad that you reinstated that, and now it's here to stay, right?
Yes, it's not going anywhere except for high.
Well, thanks so much, Kendra. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll talk with you soon.
Absolutely, you too.